From Washington, this is VOA News. The U.S. seeks an international coalition for a possible strike against Syria. A former top Chinese official is investigated for corruption. I'm Dave Deforrest reporting from Washington. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says the United States will continue to seek an international coalition in response to Syria's alleged use of chemical weapons. Hagel spoke to reporters in Manila today after the British Parliament rejected a motion for Britain's participation in a military strike on Syria. French President Francois Hollande says he does not favor international action merely to overthrow the government of Syria, but that a chemical assault must not go unpunished. Syria denies carrying out a chemical attack and is accusing the rebels of using such weapons on Syrian soldiers. For more on this story, take a look at our website, voanews.com. A senior U.S. envoy is visiting North Korea today to negotiate the release of a Korean-American man who has been sentenced to 15 years in jail at hard labor. U.S. officials say Special Envoy for North Korean human rights issues Robert Kang will use his two-day visit to request that Kenneth Bae be freed on humanitarian grounds. Bae is a Christian missionary who was arrested after entering North Korea as a tour operator in November. He was later convicted of trying to overthrow the government. Afghan officials say a suicide bomb attack has killed a district governor and at least 7 other people who were attending a memorial service at a mosque in northern Afghanistan. Authorities say at least 11 people, including civilians, were wounded in the Friday morning blast in Kunduz province. No group has claimed responsibility for the assault. The U.S. Defense Secretary is in the Philippines talking to top officials about plans to reinforce defense ties. Simone Orendine reports.
U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel rounded out his visits to Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei in Southeast Asia this week with a stop in the Philippines, where he met with the Philippine President and Defense Minister. Washington and Manila are currently hammering out guidelines that would see more U.S. troops rotating in and out of the Philippines. At a joint news conference of the defense ministers at the Presidential Palace in Manila, Hagel reiterated the U.S. position that Washington does not seek permanent bases in the Philippines.
We are using a new model of military-to-military cooperation.
Simone Orendine for VOA News, Manila.
A Hong Kong newspaper says China has decided to start a corruption investigation into retired politician Zhou Yangkang, who until last year was one of the country's top leaders. The South China Morning Post says in today's edition, the decision to launch the investigation was confirmed by sources in the Communist Party. The 70-year-old Zhou was a member of the Politburo Standing Committee, China's highest governing body, from 2007 to 2012. He also oversaw China's state security apparatus. Around 100 staff members at Cambodia's War Crimes Court will begin an open-ended strike Sunday because they haven't been paid since May. Robert Carmichael reports.
Tribunal spokesman Net Pek Tra says none of the 250 Cambodian employees at the Khmer Rouge Tribunal has been paid in 3 months, and their situation has become intolerable. The national side of the court needs $3 million to fund its operations through to the end of the year. Net Pek Tra says staff at the court, known formally as the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia, or ECCC, do not want to strike and are well aware that this action will effectively halt court proceedings. The Khmer Rouge Tribunal is a hybrid court with an international component and a national one. Robert Carmichael for VOA News, Phnom Penh.
Two of the 5 men accused of raping an Indian photojournalist woman appeared in a Mumbai court today. Police are expected to get permission to extend their detention, which expires today. Indian police say government forces killed 5 suspected rebels in a gun battle in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Officials say the army and police launched a joint operation today in a forested area about 35 kilometers from Srinagar, the summer capital of Indian-administered Kashmir. Authorities say most of the rebels had been members of the Hizbul Mujahideen, the largest Kashmiri militant group fighting Indian forces in the region. From the VOA News Center in Washington, I'm Dave Deforrest. More news on the internet at voanews.com.